How to stay strong during no contact. Stoicism. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Let's be honest. Every time you're tempted to reach out, to break the silence, to seek even a shred of their acknowledgement, you're not just reaching for them, you're letting go of yourself. Are you really prepared to sacrifice your peace, your dignity, your strength for someone who hasn't earned it? Or worse, have you already done it? Have you chipped away at your self-worth piece by piece, hoping they'll notice the person you've become, only to be met with silence? Stop. Take a breath. Look inward. Why are you willing to give so much to someone who values you so little? Why make them the center of your universe when they've shown they wouldn't do the same for you? Here's the truth. The pain of no contact doesn't come from the silence itself. It comes from the stories you tell yourself in that silence. It's not about them. It's about you. You've placed them on a pedestal they didn't earn, giving away your power while forgetting the strength that lies within you. Enough is enough. It's time to reclaim your power. No contact isn't just a strategy, it's a declaration. It says, I will not be diminished. I will not beg for scraps of attention. I will not compromise my value. Today, we're flipping the script. No contact isn't a punishment for them. It's a path to freedom for you. A way to stand tall, to embrace the strength of silence, and to show the world, and yourself, that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's validation. If you're ready to master the Stoic principles that will guide you through the storm, keep watching. This is more than a video. It's your turning point. Let's dive in. Number 1. Intentional absence. Silence is a source of great strength. These words by Lao Tzu hold profound wisdom, especially when navigating the emotional storm of no contact. For men between the ages of 30 and 65, this journey isn't just about holding back communication. It's about rediscovering your inner strength and mastering control over your emotions. Let's explore how intentional absence, inspired by Stoic wisdom, can transform your approach to life and relationships. The power of intentional absence lies in its ability to shift the balance of power in any dynamic, whether in relationships, business, or personal growth. When you deliberately withdraw your presence, it sends a ripple through the fabric of the connection. For far too long, many of us have been conditioned to believe that constant communication and availability are signs of care and commitment. Yet, as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. This means that much of the discomfort we feel during no contact is a mental construct, not the actual absence itself. By stepping back intentionally, you disrupt the familiar patterns others have grown to expect from you, compelling them to confront the void you leave behind. This isn't about manipulation. It's about reclaiming the value of your time, energy, and emotional well-being. Modern life bombards us with the pressure to be available 24/7. Social media and instant messaging have eroded the boundaries of personal space, making silence feel unnatural. But consider this. When music stops playing in the background, it's the silence that becomes noticeable and even jarring. Your absence works in the same way. The moment you step back, others begin to notice what they've taken for granted. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Isn't just a saying, it's a psychological truth. When you intentionally create space, you offer others the opportunity to appreciate what your presence truly meant. The discomfort of silence forces them to reflect, and in that reflection, they often realize the depth of what they've lost. In relationships, intentional absence becomes a profound exercise in self-respect. Too often, men find themselves overextending, bending over backward to earn the attention or affection of someone who gives little in return. But here's the harsh reality. People value what is rare and difficult to obtain. By being constantly available, you inadvertently diminish your value. As Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." This craving for acknowledgement or validation is what keeps us tethered to unhealthy dynamics. By stepping back, you're not just withholding your presence from them, you're also freeing yourself from the need to seek external approval. The strength of intentional absence also lies in its ability to realign your focus. Rather than obsessing over how your absence impacts others, consider how it benefits you. This period of no contact is a gift, a time to refocus on your own growth, rediscover your passions, and rebuild the foundation of your self-worth. As Epictetus wisely observed, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you choose absence, you're exercising mastery over your impulses. You're teaching yourself to let go of control over how others perceive you, and instead, to control your own narrative. In modern relationships, the concept of boundaries is often misunderstood or overlooked. Intentional absence reinforces the idea that your presence is a privilege, not a given. It demands that others respect the space you need to thrive. When applied with integrity, it fosters healthier dynamics built on mutual appreciation rather than one-sided dependence. But this strategy is not without its challenges. The urge to check in, to bridge the silence, can be overwhelming. Yet every time you resist that urge, you grow stronger. You remind yourself that your value isn't tied to how quickly someone responds to you, or how much attention they give you. Intentional absence is not a punishment. It's an act of self-preservation. In a world that often equates love with sacrifice, this approach may feel counterintuitive at first. But remember, Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control: our actions, our thoughts, and our emotions. By embracing this absence, you're not only prioritizing your own growth, but also allowing others the space to recognize your worth without your constant reinforcement. Over time, they'll either step up to meet the standards you've set, or they'll fade away, making room for those who truly value you. Practicing intentional absence is a discipline, not a tactic. It's a way to reclaim your autonomy and rebuild your self-respect. As you navigate this journey, keep these words from Marcus Aurelius in mind. Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them. Your life, your value, and your peace do not depend on anyone else. By stepping back, you're not losing anything. You're gaining everything that truly matters. Stay strong, stay grounded, and let the power of absence work for you. Number 2, seed of doubt. Have you ever wondered why people often stop valuing what feels guaranteed? This is where the power of planting a subtle seed of doubt comes in, particularly in situations where you felt overlooked or underappreciated. A seed of doubt isn't about dishonesty or manipulation. It's about gently reminding others that your attention, affection, or presence isn't something to be taken for granted. Think about this. When someone knows you're always there, their sense of urgency to nurture the connection fades. They fall into complacency. But when there's even a small hint of uncertainty, their perspective shifts. They start to question if they might lose you. Suddenly, they value what they once overlooked, and this shift has a profound psychological effect. As the philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Planting this seed of doubt is not about causing chaos. It's about sparking reflection and shifting the dynamic in a way that reinforces your worth. In modern life, think about the dynamics of social media. How often do we feel a pang of curiosity or even insecurity when someone doesn't immediately respond to our message? It's not because we're inherently insecure, but because a delay creates space for questions. This principle can be applied in any relationship or interaction, but the key is to do it with integrity. For example, if you're in a no-contact phase, casually mentioning something interesting happening in your life without giving too many details can plant that seed. It's a gentle way of saying, "I have a full, meaningful life, with or without your involvement. This isn't about playing games, it's about subtly showing that you're not waiting in the wings for their attention. Have you ever noticed how people often desire what feels slightly out of reach? This isn't a trick, it's human psychology. When we feel assured of someone's presence, our natural curiosity wanes. But when there's an element of mystery, we're drawn in, almost magnetically. Let me share a story to ground this idea in everyday life. A friend of mine, after ending a relationship, decided to focus on himself rather than chasing closure or recognition from his ex. He started taking up new hobbies, expanding his social circle, and genuinely enjoying his time alone. When they ran into each other a few months later, she was surprised at how composed and fulfilled he seemed. He hadn't been flaunting his growth or deliberately trying to get her attention. He simply let her see that he had moved forward. Without even realizing it, he had planted a seed of doubt. She began questioning her assumptions about him and their relationship. Was she too quick to dismiss his value? Did she misjudge what he brought into her life? While this encounter wasn't designed to evoke regret, it naturally sparked reflection. And the lesson here is powerful. By living authentically and letting others witness your growth, you shift the narrative without forcing it. But here's the question you need to ask yourself. What does your absence teach others about your value? Are you giving them space to reflect? Or are you unintentionally reinforcing the idea that you're always there, waiting in the background? Planting a seed of doubt is about allowing people to see your life as something dynamic and self-sufficient. It's about creating an environment where they realize your worth on their own terms. It's not about creating anxiety or playing mind games. It's about reclaiming your autonomy. Think of it this way. You're not stepping back to make someone else feel insecure. You're stepping forward into a version of yourself that is confident, whole, and self-reliant. So how do you apply this in practical terms? Start by setting clear boundaries. Stop oversharing every detail of your life or being instantly available for every call or message. Instead, focus on yourself, your goals, your passions, your growth. Let them notice the space you've created and fill it with curiosity, not assumptions. As Seneca wisely advised, throw aside all hindrances and give up your time to attaining a sound mind. Your silence, when combined with your self-improvement, speaks louder than words. It says, I am complete on my own. And this message, delivered without desperation or demand, plants a seed that can grow into respect and even admiration. At its core, the seed of doubt is not about manipulation, but about highlighting your value. It's a way of reminding others, and yourself, that relationships should be built on mutual appreciation, not complacency. When you embrace this concept, you create space for healthier connections and elevate your sense of self-worth. So as you navigate the challenges of no contact or other difficult relational dynamics, remember that your value is not tied to how others respond to you, but how you carry yourself. As you reflect on this, consider this closing thought. To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance, as Oscar Wilde once said. By planting this seed of doubt, you're not chasing validation, you're inviting reflection. And in that reflection lies the opportunity for others to truly see your worth. Stay strong, stay intentional, and trust the process. Number 3, false closeness. Let's talk about the idea of false closeness and how it plays a crucial role in staying strong during no contact. False closeness is the illusion of deep connection created by sharing just enough to make someone feel special, while carefully guarding the full extent of your emotions or thoughts. It's not about deception, but rather about strategically building a sense of intimacy while maintaining your boundaries. Have you ever wondered why some connections feel so deep yet you barely know the person? This happens because certain moments, small glimpses into someone's world, make you feel like you're part of something exclusive. It's the same principle that can work in your favor during no contact. Think about this. How much do you truly reveal when you speak with others? Are you handing over your entire story, or are you leaving parts of yourself shrouded in mystery, giving them a reason to keep coming back for more? As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "Let men see, let them know, a real man who lives as he was meant to live." This idea of living authentically while holding back just enough to inspire curiosity is at the heart of false closeness. Imagine you're speaking with someone, and instead of overloading them with every detail of your life, you choose to share a small, meaningful moment, something that gives them a glimpse into who you are without revealing everything. This creates a sense of exclusivity, making them feel they've been let into a part of your world that few others see. They begin to think about that shared moment, replaying it in their minds, and suddenly they feel closer to you than they really are. Now, let's apply this during no contact. Often, when we feel the urge to break the silence, it's because we want to remind the other person of our presence. But instead of bombarding them with words or seeking constant validation, the goal should be to let them hold on to the idea of you, someone intriguing, someone they can't quite figure out. By carefully curating the parts of yourself you share, you build a connection that feels deeper than it actually is. And in that space of uncertainty, they begin to miss you, to wonder about you, and to crave more of what you offer. In today's world where people overshare their lives on social media, the art of false closeness becomes even more powerful. When everyone else is laying their lives bare, your restraint sets you apart. Have you ever noticed how the most captivating people aren't the ones who tell you everything, but those who leave you with questions, those whose stories seem just out of reach? As Epictetus said, "Silence is safer than speech." By embracing this silence and carefully choosing what you reveal, you're not only protecting your own peace, but also creating a space where others have to work to understand you. This isn't about manipulation. It's about setting boundaries and controlling your narrative. When you allow others to see only a part of who you are, you maintain your power while giving them a reason to stay engaged. Now let me ask you, how often do you find yourself wanting to explain everything to make someone understand your side of the story completely? Does that urge actually bring you closer to what you want, or does it leave you feeling more vulnerable? False closeness teaches us that true strength lies in the ability to let others form their own perceptions, while you stay rooted in your own truth. It's about realizing that not every moment needs to be shared, not every thought needs to be expressed. By holding back, you create space for curiosity, and that curiosity is what keeps people coming back. As Seneca wisely observed, it is not what you endure, but how you endure it that matters. So how do you practice false closeness effectively? Start by focusing on what you're willing to share and what you choose to keep private. When engaging with others, especially during a period of no contact, let your actions and presence speak for you rather than words. Share a small, meaningful story or detail when the time is right, but always keep a part of yourself reserved. This way, you're not closing yourself off. You're simply allowing others to connect with the parts of you they value most while still protecting your inner world. This approach creates intrigue and respect, which are essential for building genuine connections. And as they reflect on those shared moments, they'll begin to see the value of your presence even in your absence. At the end of the day, false closeness isn't about pretending to be something you're not. It's about embracing your depth and understanding that not everyone needs access to all of you. When you master this principle, you create connections that are meaningful, balanced, and healthy. So, as you navigate the challenges of no contact, remember this. Your value isn't determined by how much you share, but by the quality of what you choose to share. As you move forward, ask yourself, what part of my story do I want others to hold on to, and what do I want to keep for myself? The answer to that question will guide you in building stronger, more authentic connections, while staying true to yourself. Stay strong, stay intentional, and let the power of restraint work in your favor. Number 4, push and pull. When someone has you figured out, they stop appreciating you. This simple truth reveals why maintaining an air of mystery and balance in relationships is essential. The push and pull technique, rooted in Stoic wisdom and human psychology, helps you keep others engaged without losing yourself. Let's explore how this timeless strategy works and how it can strengthen your resolve during no contact. The push and pull technique is one of the most effective ways to maintain your emotional strength and balance during no contact. It's about creating a dynamic rhythm in your interactions, alternating between moments of warmth and slight withdrawal to keep the connection intriguing and meaningful. By mastering this balance, you demonstrate that your attention is a valuable resource, something that others must respect and appreciate. Marcus Aurelius once said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This principle applies to relationships as well. When you show warmth, it's a gift, and when you withdraw, it's an opportunity for reflection and growth. The push keeps them feeling connected, while the pull creates space for them to consider your value. In today's fast-paced, always connected world, relationships can quickly lose their spark because of predictability. People begin to take what's constant for granted, and that's where the pull becomes crucial. For example, you might initially engage fully in a conversation, showing genuine interest and enthusiasm, but then take a step back, reduce your availability, respond more slowly, or become slightly reserved. This creates a sense of longing and curiosity. They start to wonder, why has the tone shifted? What might I have done? This isn't about manipulation. It's about maintaining balance and ensuring that the connection remains dynamic. As Seneca wisely said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." Similarly, taking intentional pauses in your interactions prevents overfamiliarity and keeps others invested in you. Think about how this plays out in modern relationships. When you're always the one reaching out, always initiating contact, it sends a subtle message that you're more invested than the other person. Over time, this imbalance can erode your self-respect and lead to feelings of being undervalued. The push and pull method helps you regain that balance by reminding both yourself and others that your time and energy are finite and meaningful. For instance, a colleague once shared his experience of using this technique with a partner who had grown distant. By giving her space after an argument, rather than chasing validation, he created an opening for her to reflect on their relationship. When he later re-engaged with kindness and care, the dynamic shifted, and she began to appreciate his presence more deeply. This technique isn't just about romantic relationships. It can apply to friends, family, and even professional interactions. At its core, push and pull is about self-respect and emotional discipline. It's a reminder that you don't need to overextend yourself to prove your worth to anyone. Instead, by showing moments of genuine connection, the push, and then retreating into your own life, the pull, you communicate that while you value the relationship, you're also independent and self-sufficient. Epictetus reminds us, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Similarly, emotional wealth comes from valuing your own peace and priorities above external validation. When you master this mindset, you're no longer seeking approval. You're living authentically and letting others meet you where you are. Now here's a question to reflect on. Do you give yourself enough space to recharge, or are you constantly giving to others without setting boundaries? The push and pull technique is a powerful tool for reclaiming your energy while maintaining healthy relationships. By alternating engagement and withdrawal, you not only preserve your own well-being but also encourage others to value your presence. In the moments when you step back, focus on your growth, your hobbies, and your peace. Let them see that you are a person with depth and purpose, a person whose life doesn't revolve around chasing attention or validation. The push and pull technique isn't about games or manipulation. It's about balance. It's about creating a rhythm in your interactions that keeps relationships alive and meaningful while protecting your sense of self-worth. As you navigate the challenges of no contact, remember that your energy is precious and how you share it matters. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By mastering push and pull, You'll find not only strength but also a renewed sense of clarity and confidence in every relationship you cultivate. Stay true to yourself, and let the power of this technique guide you to stronger, healthier connections. Thank you for being part of today's video and our growing community here at Stoic in Your Life. Your presence means a lot, and we'd love to hear from you. If you'd like, share your story or personal reflections in the comments below. If you're not sure what to say, simply comment, "I am a newbie," if you're just joining us, or "I am Stoic" if you've been with us for some time. Your engagement not only strengthens our connection, but inspires us to keep bringing you valuable content. Now, let's move forward on this journey together, shall we? Number 5. Mixed signals. Mixed signals are a powerful, though often misunderstood, psychological dynamic that can play a critical role during no contact. When used with intention and integrity, mixed signals can create a sense of mystery and intrigue, compelling someone to reflect deeply on their connection with you. But what are mixed signals really? They are the subtle changes in your availability and emotional openness. Moments when you are warm and engaged, followed by periods where you become distant and less accessible. This isn't about playing games. It's about creating balance and reminding others that your presence is not something to be taken lightly. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not waste what remains of your life on what others think of you unless it makes you better." This idea speaks directly to the core of mixed signals, because by alternating between accessibility and withdrawal, you are not trying to manipulate others. You are prioritizing your own growth and self-worth. Think about the world we live in, where constant communication is expected. Social media, messaging apps, and phones have made instant responses the norm. But when you pause, when you step back and disrupt that rhythm, you create a noticeable absence. This pause gives others the space to consider your importance in their lives. Have you ever texted someone and felt a flicker of curiosity or concern when they didn't respond right away? That feeling of wondering what they're doing or why they haven't answered is the essence of mixed signals. It works because humans crave clarity and consistency, but they are also deeply drawn to the challenge of uncertainty. The moment you shift your pattern, when you're warm and engaged one day and less available the next, it sends a subtle but powerful message that you have your own priorities and are not simply waiting in the background. Let me share a real-world example of this. A friend of mine, after ending a long-term relationship, struggled to balance his need for space with his desire to reconnect with his ex. He started practicing mixed signals unintentionally by focusing on his own life, responding when it felt right, but no longer being at her constant beck and call. At first, she was confused by his change in behavior, but over time she began reaching out more often, even asking him about his new hobbies and interests. By not being immediately available, he had subtly shifted the dynamic, making her value his time and attention more. This wasn't about creating jealousy or playing games. It was about showing that his life was full and meaningful without her, which naturally drew her interest back. Mixed signals work because they tap into a person's innate desire to earn what feels out of reach. But here's the question for you. Are you too predictable in your interactions? When someone knows exactly how you'll respond, they often stop valuing the effort you put into the connection. Mixed signals encourage reflection, curiosity, and even a bit of longing, but they must be used with care. It's essential to ensure that your actions come from a place of self-respect, not manipulation. As Epictetus wisely said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This means that before you decide how to apply mixed signals, you must first determine your intentions. Are you doing this to grow stronger and create space for reflection? Or are you seeking to control the other person's feelings? The answer will determine how authentic and effective this approach will be. During no contact, mixed signals can help you regain your emotional balance and shift the focus back to your own well-being. For example, if you usually initiate conversations, try stepping back and letting them come to you. If they ask you how you're doing, give a sincere but concise answer, rather than over-explaining your life. This creates a sense of mystery and encourages them to think more deeply about your absence. The key is subtlety. Mixed signals should never feel forced or unnatural. Instead, they should reflect the natural rhythm of someone who is focused on their own growth. When used thoughtfully, mixed signals don't just change how others perceive you, they also change how you perceive yourself. You begin to see your own value more clearly and recognize that your worth isn't tied to someone else's immediate acknowledgement. At the heart of mixed signals is the lesson that your energy and presence are valuable. By practicing this balance of engagement and withdrawal, you are reminding others and yourself that relationships should be mutual and respectful, not one-sided or predictable. As Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." So use this time wisely. Focus on your goals, nurture your passions, and let your actions speak louder than words. Mixed signals are not about creating confusion. They are about establishing your boundaries and ensuring that your presence is appreciated, not taken for granted. In the end, the most powerful signal you can send is the one that says, "I value myself enough to choose how I show up in this world." Stay strong, and let the balance of mixed signals guide you toward a healthier, more centered version of yourself. Number 6. The mirage of need. The mirage of need is one of the most subtle yet powerful ways to navigate the challenges of no contact, and understanding it can transform how you view your relationships and yourself. It's about creating the impression that someone holds a special place in your life without ever becoming fully dependent on them. It's not about pretending or manipulation, it's about striking the perfect balance between vulnerability and independence. Have you ever noticed how people are naturally drawn to those who seem to value their presence but don't rely on it entirely? This balance creates a sense of significance for the other person while reinforcing your own strength and autonomy. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The mirage of need works by showing that while you may lean on someone occasionally, your core remains unshakably self-sufficient, a dynamic that draws others closer without making them feel burdened or indispensable. Let's dive deeper. The mirage of need can be as simple as sharing a moment of genuine vulnerability, a remark about a challenge you're facing or a story that reveals a softer side of you. These moments foster trust and closeness, but the key is to ensure they don't overwhelm the other person with the weight of your dependence. For example, sharing how a tough day at work made you reflect on your priorities invites empathy without requiring the other person to solve your problems. This delicate balance keeps the connection warm, but ensures that you maintain your autonomy. Think about it. Have you ever felt closer to someone after they shared a personal story or confided in you, but still admired them for their resilience? That's the essence of the mirage of need, allowing others to feel like they matter to you while remaining a source of strength in your own right. Epictetus reminds us, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." And this concept applies to emotional wealth as well. By showing that you need little while appreciating much, you project confidence and self-assurance. In modern life, where constant connectivity often blurs boundaries, the mirage of need can help you reclaim your personal space and emotional independence. Social media and instant messaging make it easy to overshare or lean too heavily on others for support, but this often leads to feelings of imbalance in relationships. By practicing this principle, you learn to communicate in a way that strengthens bonds without losing sight of your own self-worth. Let me share a story to illustrate this. A colleague of mine, during a period of no contact with a close friend, found himself tempted to unload all his frustrations in a single message. Instead, he chose to briefly acknowledge his struggles while focusing on the steps he was taking to overcome them. His friend's response was immediate and supportive, but more importantly, it came from a place of respect rather than pity. This approach allowed him to maintain his dignity while still inviting connection, a testament to the power of the mirage of need. So, here's a question for you. How often do you find yourself leaning on others in ways that might feel like too much? or holding back entirely because you fear appearing weak. The mirage of need encourages you to find that middle ground, where vulnerability becomes a strength rather than a liability. It reminds you that while it's okay to ask for support, your ultimate foundation must come from within. As Seneca wisely said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." How much time have you spent seeking validation or relying on others to feel whole? When you master this concept, you stop wasting time waiting for others to fill gaps in your life, and instead create a life so full that others are drawn to your energy naturally. At its heart, the mirage of need is about respect. Respect for yourself and respect for those you connect with. It's about recognizing that relationships thrive not on dependence but on mutual appreciation and shared growth. When you embody this principle, you become the kind of person others admire and want to be around. Someone who knows when to open up but never loses sight of their own strength. As you navigate the challenges of no contact, remember that the way you show your need speaks volumes about your character. Let it reflect the truth that while you value connection, your sense of self is unshakable. By practicing the mirage of need, you are not only staying strong, but also creating the space for deeper, more meaningful relationships to flourish. Stay resilient, and remember that true strength comes from within. Number 7. Create a rivalry. People often value most what they feel they might lose. This fundamental truth, woven into the fabric of human psychology, is a powerful tool in the art of staying strong during no contact. By understanding how subtle rivalry can reignite appreciation and attention, you gain the ability to create a dynamic that compels others to see your worth more clearly. Let's explore how to master this concept without manipulation and with a strong foundation in Stoic wisdom. Creating a rivalry isn't about pitting people against each other. It's about allowing someone to see that your value is recognized by others, gently reminding them that you are not theirs to take for granted. When done with integrity, this strategy is less about competition and more about subtly shifting perspective. People naturally want what they believe others desire. It's human nature to gravitate toward what feels scarce or highly valued. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And in this context, the way you handle no contact can either project your worth or diminish it. By casually letting someone know, directly or indirectly, that others see your qualities, you create a sense of subtle rivalry, one that makes them reevaluate your importance in their life without you needing to say it outright. Let's think about how this plays out in modern relationships. Have you ever noticed that when someone hears about your accomplishments or sees others appreciating you, their interest seems to grow? This happens because people often assess value based on external validation. During no contact, you can let this dynamic work for you. For example, a simple mention of a new social activity, a shared compliment from a friend, or even your visible engagement in hobbies or career advancements can spark curiosity. It's not about boasting or creating jealousy. It's about showing that your life is full, vibrant, and appreciated by others, whether or not the person in question acknowledges it. The key here is subtlety. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In the same way, your actions, confidence, and growth during no contact are far more powerful than words. Let them see your worth through how others naturally gravitate toward you. Here's a real-world example to ground this idea. A colleague of mine recently went through a challenging breakup and decided to focus entirely on self-improvement. He joined a hiking club, volunteered at local events, and started excelling in his career. Over time, mutual friends began commenting on how much he was thriving, and his ex eventually reached out to reconnect, intrigued by the stories she was hearing. He hadn't tried to make her jealous or prove anything directly. Instead, he created an environment where she could see, through others, the life and growth she was no longer part of. This approach doesn't just shift their perspective, it also reinforces your self-worth. When you embrace your growth authentically, others can't help but notice. Now let me ask you, are you living in a way that shows others your value, or are you waiting for their acknowledgement to define it? Creating a rivalry isn't about seeking approval. It's about prioritizing your own growth and letting others witness the results. The beauty of this strategy lies in its simplicity. By focusing on your passions, relationships, and self-improvement, you naturally build an aura of desirability and strength. As Seneca wisely said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." Your growth and actions during no contact set the stage for others to appreciate what they overlooked, without you needing to force the issue. It's about showing that your life moves forward regardless of who chooses to join you in it. At its heart, creating a rivalry is a reminder that you don't need to diminish yourself to gain someone's attention. It's about letting your confidence, actions, and connections speak louder than any words. When others see you thriving, they begin to question their own choices and reevaluate your place in their life. But remember, this strategy only works when it comes from a genuine place of self-respect and growth. Anything less will come across as contrived and inauthentic. As you navigate this period of no contact, focus on living fully and intentionally. The right people will notice, and those who don't were never meant to keep up with your journey. So stay strong, stay grounded, and let your actions inspire curiosity and admiration. Be so busy improving yourself that you have no time to criticize others. As Cato the Elder advised, this principle applies perfectly here. Your growth is your greatest asset, and through it, you naturally create a rivalry that compels others to see your true worth. Number 8. Limited access. Limited access is one of the most profound yet often overlooked strategies for maintaining your strength during no contact. It's about establishing boundaries that protect your energy and reinforce your value, a principle rooted deeply in Stoic wisdom. When you make yourself too available, you risk being taken for granted because people naturally undervalue what they perceive as abundant. But when you limit access to yourself, your time, your attention, and your emotional energy, you send a powerful message that your presence is not a given, but a privilege. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." By controlling your availability, you're not playing games. You're prioritizing your well-being and showing others that you respect yourself enough to demand the same in return. Think about how this applies in your daily life. In a world where we are constantly connected, via texts, social media, and instant messaging, there is an unspoken expectation to always respond immediately, to always be accessible. This culture of hyper-availability diminishes the weight of our presence. When you step back and intentionally reduce how accessible you are, you disrupt this norm, creating space for others to notice and appreciate your absence. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine used to answer every call and text from his ex during a period of no contact, hoping it would rebuild the connection, but it didn't. It wasn't until he chose to focus on himself, delaying responses and prioritizing his own growth, that the dynamic changed. Suddenly, his ex noticed his absence and began initiating conversations, realizing that his attention was no longer guaranteed. This wasn't manipulation. It was about him reclaiming his time and letting his actions quietly reflect his worth. Here's a question to reflect on. How often do you feel obligated to respond immediately to someone, even when it disrupts your peace or priorities? By limiting access, you're setting a boundary that says, "My time is valuable, and I choose to spend it wisely." This doesn't mean ignoring people or being unkind. It means being intentional with your interactions. As Epictetus wisely noted, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." You can't control how someone reacts to your limited access, but you can control how you protect your energy and maintain your sense of self-respect. In practice, limiting access might look like not responding immediately to a text or choosing to spend time on hobbies, friendships, or self-improvement instead of waiting for someone else's attention. It's about breaking the cycle of over-availability and creating a sense of scarcity, not as a strategy to manipulate, but as a way to remind yourself and others that your attention is valuable. Think about how much more you appreciate a scarce resource compared to one that's always available. By being selective with your time, you naturally increase the value of your interactions and leave a stronger impression. At its core, limited access is about embracing the power of no. No to overextending yourself, no to being at someone else's beck and call, and no to sacrificing your peace for the sake of being available. When you adopt this mindset, you shift the dynamic in your relationships, allowing others to see that your time and energy are not infinite. This isn't about punishment or creating insecurity. It's about establishing respect, both for yourself and from others. As Seneca said, as long as you live, keep learning how to live. Limiting access teaches you to value your own time and prioritize what truly matters, a lesson that strengthens every aspect of your life. The value of limited access lies in the balance it brings. It helps you maintain your self-worth and ensures that your presence is never taken for granted. By creating this boundary, you show others that your life is full and meaningful, with or without their acknowledgement. So as you navigate no contact, remember that your time is your greatest asset, and how you choose to share it defines the respect you command. Stay grounded, stay intentional, and let the principle of limited access guide you toward relationships that are healthier, more balanced, and rooted in mutual respect. If you've made it this far, you're mastering the art of resilience. Drop a comment saying, "I am unshakable," to show your commitment to staying strong during this journey. Stick around. There's so much more growth ahead. Number 9. Delayed response. Delayed response is one of the simplest yet most effective tools you can use to maintain your strength during no contact. In today's world, where instant replies have become the norm, taking your time to respond sends a powerful message, not just to others but to yourself. It signals that you are in control of your time and emotions, and that you're not governed by the expectations of immediate gratification. This is not about ignoring people or playing mind games. It's about creating intentional space that allows you to reflect before reacting. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. By choosing when and how to respond, you reclaim your power and remind others that your attention is not something they can take for granted. The pause between stimulus and reaction is where clarity and strength live. Think about this. How often have you rushed to respond to a message out of a sense of obligation or fear of losing someone's attention? And how did it make you feel afterward? Probably drained or even resentful if the response didn't meet your expectations. Delaying your response gives you time to process your emotions, consider the situation objectively, and decide what is truly worth your energy. It prevents you from reacting impulsively and helps you craft thoughtful, measured replies that reflect your inner stability. This approach is especially important during no contact because it shifts the focus back to your own needs and priorities. As Epictetus wisely advised, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Delayed response helps you align your actions with the person you aspire to be, calm, deliberate, and self-assured. Let me share a story to illustrate this. A friend of mine was going through a tough breakup and struggled with the temptation to respond immediately every time his ex reached out. At first, he felt that replying quickly might help rebuild the connection, but all it did was reinforce a dynamic where he felt undervalued. When he began practicing delayed response, something changed. Instead of dropping everything to reply, he took his time, focusing on his hobbies, work, and personal growth. When he eventually did respond, his messages were thoughtful, confident, and concise. This shift not only helped him regain his sense of control, but also made his ex see him in a new light. Someone who was no longer seeking validation but living his life with purpose. So here's a question to consider. Do you control your responses, or do your emotions control you? Delaying your reply isn't about creating tension or confusion. It's about respecting yourself enough to take a moment before you act. It allows you to decide whether the interaction is worth engaging in and to respond in a way that reflects your true intentions. This principle doesn't just apply to romantic relationships. It's valuable in all areas of life, whether dealing with a demanding coworker, a difficult friend, or a family member who expects constant attention. By practicing delayed response, you communicate that your time and energy are valuable, and you encourage others to respect your boundaries. Delayed response is about mindfulness. It teaches you to step back, breathe, and approach situations with clarity rather than urgency. This is particularly empowering during no contact, as it helps you maintain your composure and focus on your personal growth instead of reacting to external triggers. As Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." When you pause before responding, you're not depriving anyone. You're enriching yourself by choosing peace over impulsiveness. The beauty of this practice is that it creates a sense of calm, not only within you, but also in the way others perceive you. Your deliberate approach to communication becomes a reflection of your inner strength. Delayed response is more than just a strategy. It's a mindset. It's about reclaiming your time, protecting your energy, and ensuring that your actions align with your values. By practicing this, you demonstrate to yourself and others that you are in control of your emotions and that your life is guided by intention, not reaction. So as you navigate no contact, remember that every pause is an opportunity to choose your path with wisdom and purpose. Take your time, hold your ground, and let the power of patience work in your favor. After all, as the Stoics believed, mastery over yourself is the greatest victory of all. Number 10. Intensify doubt. Doubt is the catalyst of change. It makes us question, reflect, and seek clarity. When used thoughtfully, doubt can become a tool to shift perspectives, making others reevaluate their assumptions about you. Let's explore how the Stoic principle of self-control can help you intensify doubt in a way that strengthens your position during no contact, without manipulation or malice. Intensifying doubt is not about creating fear or uncertainty to harm someone. It's about gently disrupting the comfort they've grown accustomed to, encouraging them to question their assumptions about you. When you step back during no contact, you naturally create a space where they must confront your absence. And it's in that space where doubt begins to grow. They start asking themselves questions. Why aren't you reaching out? Are you moving on? Are they losing the control they once thought they had over you? This isn't manipulation. It's a natural psychological response when someone who was once predictable suddenly becomes an enigma. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Instead of reacting impulsively, you shift the narrative by embracing patience and self-discipline, allowing doubt to work in your favor. In today's hyper-connected world, where most people respond immediately and share every detail of their lives on social media, unpredictability becomes a rare and powerful tool. By becoming less accessible and more reserved, you disrupt the patterns they've come to expect from you. Perhaps you no longer comment on their posts or you stop initiating conversations, leaving them to wonder what's changed. Have you ever noticed how we often take for granted what feels secure, only to feel its absence when it's no longer readily available? This is the essence of intensifying doubt, creating a quiet void that makes them question their place in your life. Epictetus said, "We are disturbed not by things, but by the view we take of them." By controlling your actions and how you present yourself, you change their perspective, making them see you as someone who is strong, independent, and not easily swayed. Let me share a story to illustrate this. A friend of mine, after a difficult breakup, decided to focus entirely on his personal growth. He stopped trying to explain himself, stopped seeking closure, and instead devoted his energy to building a healthier lifestyle and exploring new interests. Over time, his ex began reaching out, first subtly and then persistently, wanting to know what he was up to. His silence and the visible changes in his life left her questioning whether she had misunderstood his worth all along. What made this effective wasn't an intention to hurt her. It was his commitment to becoming the best version of himself. He had created a space where doubt naturally arose, compelling her to reflect on her own choices without him needing to say a word. This is the power of intensifying doubt when it's rooted in authenticity and growth rather than manipulation. So, here's a question for you. How can you create the kind of presence, even in your absence, that makes others reflect on their assumptions about you? It starts with self-respect and self-improvement. By focusing on your goals, nurturing your passions, and limiting your interactions, you send a clear signal that your life is moving forward. This doesn't mean cutting people off or being cold. It means choosing to invest your energy in places where it will truly flourish. As Seneca wisely said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. When you choose to surround yourself with growth and positivity, others begin to notice the shift in your energy, and it becomes impossible for them to ignore the new version of you. Intensifying doubt is not about playing games. It's about showing others that you are more than they assumed, that your worth doesn't hinge on their validation. In practice, this might look like being less predictable in your responses, taking longer to reply, or refraining from oversharing about your life. It's about embracing mystery and confidence, allowing them to fill in the gaps with their own questions. But the key to making this effective is ensuring that your actions align with genuine self-improvement. Without authenticity, doubt becomes a tool of manipulation rather than a reflection of your growth. Intensifying doubt is a strategy rooted in stoic strength and self-discipline. It's not about causing pain. It's about allowing others to see you in a new light, one where your absence speaks louder than your words ever could. As you navigate no contact, focus on becoming someone whose presence is a privilege, not a given. Let doubt work quietly in the background as you build a life that reflects your values, confidence, and inner peace. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Stay strong, stay focused, and let your actions, not your explanations, define your worth. Number 11. The roller coaster effect. The roller coaster effect is one of the most effective psychological strategies for staying strong during no contact, and when applied with intention, it can completely shift the dynamics of your relationships. This strategy involves creating emotional highs and lows that keep the other person engaged and invested in you, not through manipulation, but by cultivating a sense of unpredictability and depth in your interactions. People are naturally drawn to what they can't fully understand or predict, and by introducing a rhythm of engagement and withdrawal, you create an emotional journey that leaves a lasting impression. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you embrace this principle, you use the roller coaster effect not to control others, but to master your own emotions and actions, ensuring that every step you take reflects your personal growth and self-worth. Think about it. In modern relationships, predictability often leads to complacency. If someone always knows exactly how you'll react, they may begin to undervalue the connection. The roller coaster effect breaks this cycle by introducing an element of surprise. For example, you might go out of your way to show warmth and attention in one interaction, then step back and create space for reflection in the next. This isn't about being hot and cold to confuse someone. It's about creating a rhythm that keeps the connection dynamic and alive. Have you ever noticed how much more we value things that aren't always accessible? Whether it's a rare opportunity or an elusive goal, the challenge and unpredictability make them more desirable. In relationships, this same principle applies. By not always being available, you create space for curiosity, reflection, and appreciation. As Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." The roller coaster effect empowers you to take control of your own actions and leave others to reflect on their place in your life. Let me share a story that highlights the power of this principle. A friend of mine, after a painful breakup, decided to focus on self-improvement rather than chasing reconciliation. He alternated between moments of engagement, such as sharing a new accomplishment or a positive life update, and moments of quiet, where he refrained from reaching out or responding immediately. This approach wasn't about playing games, it was about prioritizing his growth and letting his ex see, through his actions, that his life was moving forward. The emotional highs of seeing his progress, combined with the lows of his absence, created a lasting impact, prompting her to reconsider her assumptions about him. What made this effective wasn't manipulation, but authenticity. His actions were rooted in genuine self-improvement, which naturally created the emotional rhythm that kept her invested. So here's a question for you. Are you creating a dynamic that encourages others to see your value, or are you allowing predictability to diminish your presence? The roller coaster effect is about embracing the balance between connection and independence. It's not about withholding affection or creating unnecessary tension. It's about being intentional with how and when you engage. For instance, after a meaningful conversation, give the other person space to reflect on what was said. Let them miss your presence, rather than overwhelming them with constant interaction. This rhythm not only keeps the connection interesting, but also reinforces your sense of self-worth, as you're no longer dependent on their immediate responses for validation. The roller coaster effect is a reminder that relationships thrive on balance. By creating moments of emotional highs and lows, you ensure that your interactions are memorable and meaningful without sacrificing your authenticity. As Seneca wisely said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." When you focus on your own growth and allow the natural ebb and flow of connections to unfold, you create a space where others must choose to value and appreciate you on their own terms. This approach strengthens your independence while deepening the impact of your presence. In conclusion, the roller coaster effect isn't about manipulation. It's about creating a dynamic that reflects your personal growth and self-respect. By alternating between moments of engagement and moments of quiet reflection, you allow others to see your value and inspire them to invest in the connection. This strategy not only helps you stay strong during no contact, but also ensures that your actions are guided by intention and authenticity. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Stay strong, stay intentional, and let the rhythm of your actions speak louder than any words ever could. As we conclude, remember that these 11 principles are more than just tactics. They are tools to help you build strength, clarity, and purpose in your life. They rely on timeless psychological truths about human nature, such as the power of scarcity, the pull of curiosity, and the need for self-respect. When applied ethically and with intention, they foster genuine growth, deepen your connections, and, most importantly, strengthen your relationship with yourself. At Stoic in Your Life, we believe that personal growth starts with action, so take a moment today to reflect on how you can integrate these principles into your daily life. Which of these strategies do you think will make the biggest impact for you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experiences and insights. And if this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue your journey toward inner strength and happiness. Remember, true power lies in mastering yourself, and every small step counts. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video.